Okay, everybody. We will start now. For the ones who will still join, we will, if they need it, do a brief recap of what we explained. So, first thing first, welcome everybody to this workshop dedicated to smart working. Today is the last workshop of a series of 6 workshops that started in October 2021. So today we will conclude the pathway we started on smart working. Many of you have participated in different of our workshops. And for others, if it is your first time, we will do a brief recap since it is our last meeting so that you will be introduced. But anyways, for the ones who want to better know about the topic and everything we have discussed previously, we will then send you the link of our website, and there you will be able to find everything regarding this series of workshops and in general of the smart working project. So all of you have the possibility to switch on their cameras and microphones. So you are welcome to do it and join us with your cameras. Only thing I kindly ask to everybody to switch off, sorry, their microphones so that we do not create confusion in the workshop. Of course, if you have any question or you want to say something, you are welcome to open your microphone and join us. So thank you very much for this. Now, for the ones who don't know me, my name is Gabriela Lamorgia. I work for Logosabile Onlus, and today I will be directing, let's say, this workshop. Today's workshop is dedicated to a topic that we can consider as a summary of what we have done previously in the workshop beforehand, but it's something also new that we add to our pathway. So our workshop is dedicated to the ethics of smart working and how to manage a team at distance, which is very, very crucial for everybody today, that smart working is especially important and especially used in all countries at different stages and for different reasons. So first thing first, I would like to do a very brief recap regarding smart working. So what we refer to when we say smart working. So smart working is really a concept that goes beyond the idea of working remotely. It's a really wide concept that today includes very different aspects. It includes co-working, which is when we share an open workspace with other professionals, and it's a reality which is very common in big cities, in which professionals share spaces to work. In the case, some companies, especially startups, do not want to have a physical office where to work. But in these co-working spaces, they can find themselves with the space, with the Wi-Fi and other equipment they may need for their work. Then we have mobile working, which is a concept connected more to mobile devices such as tablets or smartphones that are widely used today to work. Mobile working, we can say, something today we all do in a way or another. When, for example, we check our emails on the phone, or we have a brief meeting, a video call with our partners. So the mobile devices can help us in our working environment. Then we have counseling 2.0, which is the counseling done online by professionals. So, for example, many professionals that work for, I don't know, website domains can have counseling online. So you can ask to meet them to solve a certain problem, and so you can speed up the process and solve your problem faster, or also acquire information from them that you need. And then we have distance learning, which is applied, of course, to all fields that include teacher, trainers, and students. So for schools, for university, for other specific training. So this is something very common that almost all of us have experienced in a way or in another during the COVID period, but that today has really become a real way of life, we can say, because it has really become part of a new system of work. Many countries have adopted rules and regulations to establish how smart working or distance learning have to be carried out. In Europe, they have started in 2020 the process of adopting a series of rules and regulations that were common to all the countries part of the Union, and countries have adopted by themselves their own regulations. Because of course when this started it was something new, something that only a few part of the society had experience with. So of course as a phenomenon grows larger and larger, we need regulations to make sure that everything works correctly. But now, this was a brief recap to focus on the topic of smart working. Now, today's topic is ethics, or work ethics, or smart working ethics. So now we will share with you a Mentimeter um, in which you will be able to scan a code. My colleague is going to share also the link on the chat, so you can either scan the code or click on the link and open a window on your computer. And we would like to know from you what comes to your mind when you hear of work ethics. So this is open to you. You can write a word of a sentence or what comes to your mind when you hear this word, if you already had experience with it, etc., etc. So you can see also on the chat the link. Hello, Majid. And you can scan it or go through the link. So this is of course a very broad topic. A lot of people may have already experience with it. For some of you, maybe it is a totally new concept. And we would like to know from you. Maybe answers are incoming. I hope so. You can write everything that comes to your mind. Okay, here we have the first answer arriving. So we have how you behave, reliability, fairness, professional, punctuality, being efficient, organization skills, reliability, integrity, fairness. Okay, wow, that is a lot of ideas. Doing the right thing. Okay. Trust, focus. Yes, these are all correct ideas regarding the work ethics. So we will leave a few seconds more if someone else wants to participate and send their answers. Okay. Well, Okay, I don't see other answers incoming, so I think this is it. So thank you for participating. Well, of course, when we refer to work ethics, we take really in consideration almost all the words and consideration you have shared beforehand. Now we will share with you again a little presentation so we can keep up. But with work ethics, if we want to summarize the concept, we can consider it as a principle of diligence on the workplace. And this is especially important for when we work in the office, but also outside the office. And this is something that it is not always immediate when it comes to smart working, when we are working remotely. So the employee or also the student has to be responsible for the completion of his or her tasks. So it is a complex concept that can be taken sometimes to the extreme. So companies can have, for example, a set of specific rules that apply to their company. Sometimes the concept can be pushed to the extreme, so much as that, especially in smart working, there is no balance in between work life and personal life. And this is something very challenging when we take into consideration remote work. It's something we want to pay specific attention to because it's something to consider. And when we are home in our rooms, in our house, sometimes these lines can be blurred. So we have to be responsible and complete the task assigned, because as we I think remember, smart working is focused more on the results rather than a specific arranged schedule like it is in the office. For example, we work from 9 to 5 p.m. most of the office. In smart working, what's most important is not as much the time you need, but the results you produce. And you have to produce the same results you would produce in the office. So we can go ahead and see that smart working ethics compares to responsibility despite the distance. So it is all about commitment and responsibility. In the little image I've put you, of course, it's a little funny representation of the concept. So when we are home, we have to make sure that our objectives are met and that our commitment is always high, because the manager or the teacher is not there to see us face to face and motivate us or remind us of things. So it's something that we have to be more autonomous about. And it's something that sometimes, especially at the beginning of the process, can be difficult if we do not have any experience with working from home or remotely. So going ahead, we can see that there is, of course, a difference in between what we mean with ethics on the workplace and in school or training. So in the workplace, the ethics is applied to all components really of the company. So to the employee especially, but also to the managers, directors, CEOs, etc. They have to manage the work of the employees. Some companies have established clear rules to ensure productivity. So this is done, for example, through deadlines, which are often given, especially when working remotely. In the school or training area to which we refer to, it applies to teachers and trainers because they have to work ethically, so be productive, be able to support the students and be available to do so, of course, during the working hours, because let's always remember to keep the balance in between the two, but it also applies to students. And this is something that maybe for school or training was already part of the norm, let's say, because, for example, students had already the responsibility and the commitment to, do their homework. So it was already maybe something that they started thinking about already, and then now is more clear for them, because of course if they want, especially during the peaks of the pandemic, to complete their course, they had to be responsible and be committed to their studying despite being home, and despite having many distractions, have maybe less motivation, especially when classes are off. So it's very important to focus this. Then we can keep going and see that for to understand what work ethics means, we first have to understand what workers, students, and teachers what they have to understand what work and study remotely implies. So this is, of course, just some reminders. No face-to-face communication, which is the fastest type of communication, of course, and it is also a way for the managers of teachers to keep control over their team or their classes, because they can see what physically what they are doing, how they are going, if they are completing what they have to complete, etc. Then there are different ways of communication. This is really, I think, the key when we think about smart working and working remotely. Different Today we have really thousands of apps, of softwares that allow us to communicate in video calls or instant messaging programs or apps. So we can have two phenomenons, we can say. Difficult communication, because of course a text is not the same as saying something in person, because on the text maybe you have to summarize concept, be brief, so that the other person understands. Because if we write, for example, a text on WhatsApp that is, I don't know, this long, it's really difficult that people that receive these messages read through all the message and understand it. And but it also leads to maybe over communication. So since these tools are available 24/7, people can write to you when you are off work, or in the weekends, or during holidays. And sometimes when people are in smart working, they feel compelled to answer to this text and give a feedback, because it's not they perceive it's not the same as working in the office. Then, of course, there is more time online. So we spend all, I think was at least my case. I don't know how about you, but during the pandemic, we spent online almost 12, 13 hours, because first before to work, and then maybe offline for our personal life, on social media, on different platform, watching movies, but it is anyways time online that can also be physically demanding. And then, of course, there is the possibility of distractions. Being at home, if you live with other people, or you tend to be more distracted, because of course people come to have a chat with you, ask some questions, or tell you something, and you are working, but you are distracted, and then you have to focus again. Or maybe it's also the case if you have some domestic animal, they can also be distractions because you have to keep an eye on them, etc. So it is very important to consider this as parameters to take into consideration when we are working from home. Then, of course, we have to take into consideration also confidentiality and data protection. When working from home, we have maybe a computer or a device that has been given by the company or by the school. And all the information that is on that device, of course, has to be protected. It cannot be shared, for example, with members of your family, because you can have problems in certain areas if there is a leak of these data. Of course, the companies, when they provide the system or the device, also to take into consideration the protection, so to equip the device with antiviruses so that it's not the fault of the employee if something happens because of a virus. So it's very important to take this into consideration. Going ahead, we can see that work ethics is really about setting rules for ourselves. So sometimes they are imposed by the company, but imposition not always works. So it's something that we have to develop within ourselves, within our work. And it's about creating habits to establish commitment to our work. So, for example, these are some tips. Establish a daily schedule to make a to-do list, for example. Minimize distractions. So maybe, in your house, and say, I would work from my bedroom, so my door will be closed and I will be available only when I have breaks. Practice punctuality. This is something I think it's very important. It's a very good tip. Because we are home, sometimes I think, especially with meetings, we do everything last minute. So we get dressed last minute, we switch on the computer last minute, it can happen. And then maybe we can have some problems with connection that we were not aware of. So something to practice is always be punctual and ready for the commitment we have, especially when we are talking about meetings or video calls, because this creates a good environment for all the team that works more positively on a project. Because if you are punctual, you finish earlier your meeting, and so this is a plus point, I think, for everybody. And then, of course, be mindful of deadlines, which are something that we always have to take into consideration when we think about results. Then, um, work ethics takes into consideration also some things that we have to do to create a balance in our life. So unplug after your work day. This is very important to establish a boundary in between personal and work life. Change your work or study station. So this connects also to less distraction. We can really create our own station at home with everything we need, all the equipment and tools we need, so that, for example, we have to move less in the house to look for something, etc. Ask for support. This is very important because despite working or studying at distance, we always have a teacher or a mentor or a manager we need when we have difficulties, and they are there for that purpose. So we have to communicate with them to ensure that the tasks and the deadline are met. And then, of course, stay active and social. One of the main challenges that has been seen by experts during the smart working period or remote work during the pandemic was, of course, lack of social contacts. Of course, we were at home, we couldn't go out, so we had less social contact with the rest of our friends, family, and work team. So it's important, even if we are working from home, to give space to this social part, also with the colleagues. So, for example, at the beginning of a meeting, have a brief chat, have, saying how it is going, how was your weekend, etc., etc., because this really builds your team and keeps you also social. So, now we will share with you, this is a brief, let's say, summary of what I have said until now. And now I will share with you another Menti. So in a minute it will appear on the screen, and also you will find the link on the chat. Because I would like to know from you, these are only some options. Of course, you are open to share more that are important with you. What are for you the most important aspects when you work, study at distance? These are only some of the most common, let's say, answers. But if you want to add something else, you can, of course, join with the chat or with your microphone. So, okay, first answers are incoming. Okay, so we have a balance, let's say, in between the answers. So, different points of view. Okay, for now, how to communicate with team or class is the most important. You still have some time. Okay, here incoming more. The rest are all balanced, so it is important for you. Of course, all of this can be important for you, so you can also select more than one answer if they are crucial for your work, from your experience. Okay, maybe someone else is answering. Always balanced. Last one. Okay, maybe we can leave 10 seconds more if somebody has still to join. Okay, so still, okay, now avoid distractions is, together with communication, the most important aspect. Okay, so we see really a balance. Does somebody who has participated wants to comment on their answer, why they have chosen that, or they have other priorities? I remind you that you can switch on camera and microphone, all of you can. I don't know, I see on this, I'm going to call, maybe I'm going to see on the screen Rajiv. Do you, do you want to share which answer you select for this Menti?
Yeah, I picked avoid distractions.
Okay. Because you had experience when working from home about this?
Yeah, way too many distractions, whether it be the TV.
Well, yeah.
I had two Rottweilers as well.
Oh,
They
well, then
it can
big
be quite
distractions.
distracting. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. Is something else, some other priority you found from your experience working from home?
Yes. Can I say something?
Sure, Abdul.
Yeah. First of all, I think today's demonstrated that I'm having trouble logging onto my PC
Mm-hmm.
because of the security protocols are not allowing me to use for this for the click beating
Oh, okay.
application. I can't download it, so I'm having to use it on my phone, and the Wi-Fi is poor. So technical problems also create a problem. For instance, my computer's got quite a lot of security settings, and there's an ethic about, do I adjust those to get a website to work? What are the issues in terms of conflicts, in terms of privacy, in terms of organizational policies? So there's and different organizations do use different platforms which are not easily accessible. So there's lots of issues like that in terms of, for me.
Yes, I think maybe this is something others also have had experience with before, especially I think when you are working with a company device, there are some settings that, of course, do not allow you to access all the platforms, or I think also to access maybe social media, because they want to avoid some kinds of distractions. And it can be difficult, especially if another platform, for example, in this case, from the ones that we usually use, are used in a meeting, in a workshop, etc. And so we have to find a solution with other devices we have. So I think it's something Abdullah shared that everybody, in a way or in another, had problems with. And I think also technical. Sorry, Abdul, do you want to add something?
Also, I mean, like, obviously making sure at the moment my background is a bit sort of, home based. It looks, you have to be very careful when you're doing presentations that your backgrounds are neutral and not, people don't just appear, etc., etc. But I guess you know all this anyway.
Yes, well, I think this is very common for everybody, especially when we are home, because there are pictures, there are posters, there are all kinds of things in our house that sometimes we don't really pay attention to at first, because it's normal for us, but maybe it can create some problem or some embarrassment for you in official work environment. Yes, chocolate. So it's everything really something we have to pay attention to, and something I think now we are more comfortable with, if we compare to the beginnings of this phenomenon. I saw that Anka also said that communication is essential. I think this is also, from my perspective, the most important area, let's say, because you have to adapt to a new way of communication with softwares, with apps, and sometimes there are new software, new apps that you don't know how to use. You don't know how to properly make use in your work, because sometimes we use apps for I think of instant communication like WhatsApp. WhatsApp is used both for work, but especially for private life. So this, sometimes can collide these two areas of our life. And we can have over communication or difficulties of communication if we are using a different app that we don't know how to use, how to incorporate in our work. Yes, I think what Morag is saying is also true. Today we have thousands of apps, platforms, but I think especially now there are too many. There are too many options. So, for example, a team uses one type of communication system. The other use Teams, for example, to communicate. Another one uses Trello. And especially when you are working in an international environment, and if you are a trainer or teacher, it can be difficult, to manage all these platforms. Because, for example, if you are a trainer with a course, you use more, I don't know, mails, for example, to communicate. With others, you need to instant information. So you use, for example, WhatsApp or other types of instant messaging programs. So it really can create an overload, to place each in their class or in their team. Yes, so more continue, for example, on Zoom, I can create a background, but I don't think you can do it on here. Yes, this is a different platform that, for example, is used more for webinars. So there isn't the option of customizing the background, or at least it's not here yet, or maybe there will be here in the next few months or weeks. I think it would be a good add something good to add. And then the regime says, way too many options, it's best to reduce this number to improve efficiency. Yes, and Trello, yes. I think really at this point, I think in companies, there is really a choice in between which management tool or communication tool we want to use, because it can create confusion. And of course, if you have to constantly, for example, update a platform or send, I don't know, 100 of texts a day, this can really have an impact on your efficiency, because you spend so much time figuring out, okay, for this project I need this platform, for this project I need this other platform, etc., etc. So but at the same time, I think that platforms are becoming multitasking in this way, so they have different options, so you can use one and have the possibility to keep up with your work, manage your project, and communicate at the same time. So yes, Anka said Trello, it's a very good tool. We use it too in another project we have with Anka, but also for our internal management. And it's really something that can give you an overview of everything you need to do. You see that has been done, and with clear deadlines, and you can communicate with instant messages. So it's a very, very good tool. For the ones who were not here on the first meeting, we did a brief guide with some tips on Trello, but you will be able to find everything on our project website, so you will be able to refer to it. And I don't know if you already know, all these workshops are recorded, so if you missed something, and if you want to, remind, Rajiv says, oh my, no, it's only for didactic purposes, so it won't be shared outside of it. So if you missed something, you are welcome to watch again everything. Okay, so now let's take back briefly about the work ethics. So we have seen with you some things, challenges that have been very common for you, and that we have discussed now. So we can go ahead. So when we talk about work ethics, if we are a teacher or a manager or a mentor, we have to take into consideration how we can manage a team. Managing a team is it's a complex task. It's complex already when you are in the office, and it's even more complex when you are at distance. Because sometimes many managers or teachers rely a lot on face-to-face contacts, communication, and supervision of the work. When these lacks, they can have some problems managing their team and making sure that the team stays efficient and keeps working in the same way as in the office, even if, of course, at home there are always some differences that have to be applied when we are working and managing a team. So we have to take into consideration four main things. The size of the group, of course, the larger is the group, the more difficult it is to manage. The type of work or task to complete. So, for example, in a project, we have to complete many tasks, and this of course, requires for a stricter management to make sure that everything is completed within the deadline, and then the deadlines and the way of communication with all the apps and tools we have said we have to use at distance. So it is important when we are taking into consideration the managing our team of classes, some tips to take in, that are important for everybody and that ensure efficiency. So the manager or teacher has to schedule daily check-ins. Now, for teachers that are at school, this can be easier in a way because they have usually their daily online classes. So in a way, even at distance, they meet every day or every other day with their students. So this is something that they already do. It's already an automatic process, but for managers, it is important to schedule these daily check-ins. They can be one-on-one check-ins, so with an employee that is having, for example, some issues on a certain task, or they can be a group check-ins in which they can confront people can confront on the progress of the task and the work. Then we have communicate in the right amount. This is, I think, very important not to overstep the boundaries of private life. And also because we spend too much time sending texts, updating our colleague on what we have done, what we have not done. So it's important to, establish, okay, I will send you an email at the beginning of my work day. These are the tasks I'm going to do today, for example. Maybe send an email midday if you have encountered some issues, some problems in your morning. And then a recap, maybe email or message saying, okay, I have completed this. Now what is left is this other, etc., etc. Then we have focus on outcomes and not activity. This is something, I think, one of the biggest differences in between working from home and working in the office. Because in the office, we have, a set amount of hours we have to work. So from 9 to 5 p.m., for example. So we know that we have that time to complete all the tasks of the day. Working from home is also about being responsible and being also in a sort of way independent. So if you think that you have organized yourself and you can complete the tasks you need to complete in less hours, you can do that. The important thing is that the outcomes, the goals are reached for that day. Then, of course, we have encouraged social interaction, that is something we have said previously, and also provide support, which is very important for the manager to be available for employees and for teachers to be available for their students, of course, with specific limits. Now, this was an overview. Of course, the topic of managing a team is very broad. That includes a lot of different subtopics to analyze more in detail. Now, as we have said previously from the previous, I can call it survey, we had through Menti, one of the most important things that was selected from your experience was the communication in between the team and you that you are working or studying from home. So I wanted to share with you a short video before the tool about remote meetings, and these are some tips from Harvard University that can be useful for you.
Anton has joined the meeting.
While it may be astounding that we can have a virtual meeting with people on different continents, it can also be frustrating. And these frustrations can affect morale, engagement, productivity, and innovation. When changes in the ways we communicate lead to changes in how others perceive our communications, this calls for a new set of protocols and behaviors. Authors Erika Dewan and Tomasz Chamorro-Premuzic have a few rules of thumb for communicating with remote teams. First, since clarity and consistency are key, sticking to a set of agreed-upon norms can help avoid confusion. This could range from a set of acronyms about expected response times to standardizing use of particular communication platforms. Next, remember that you can never be too clear. Unless you've established a shorthand protocol ahead of time, don't assume others understand your brevity. Take the extra time to be extra clear, regardless of the medium. Third, don't bombard your team with messages. Each time you email, text, or call, imagine that you are physically walking into your colleague's workspace. If you followed up an email by text and phone, it would be like opening their office door 3 times in a row. Minimize your digital volume and think wisely before hitting send. Fourth, notice that team members who are more introverted in person can really benefit from written communications. Physical barriers can actually level the playing field for those who may be less inclined to speak in group settings. Lastly, find ways to celebrate and socialize remotely to strengthen relationships between team members and improve collaboration. Even a simple switch from conference calls to video, for instance, can boost rapport and create empathy. The challenges of remote teams will not disappear, but creating consistent rules, rituals, and protocols will go a long way in building a new communication skill set.
Okay, this was, I think, a nice video, also very funny with the animations about what we have previously said. So it can be used as a reminder with a few extra tips regarding establishing, maybe acronyms that are used that cannot be familiar to all people in the team. Okay, so now I want to share with you very briefly. I don't know if you already know this. This is tool that has been very popular for communication within teams, and is something else we wanted to add. So you have more resources for your work or study. So Majid says that Trello is a great tool. Yes, absolutely. This is one of the tools we have shared that can be used for managing projects and also a team. It differs a little bit from Slack because Slack is, I think, focused more on the communication, on fast communication in between the team. Okay, so Majid says that he also uses Slack. For other people in the workshop, do you know about Slack? Yes, no, you can write it down maybe on the chat, so I can see more or less if you are familiar with it or no. This is okay. Anka says not really. Yeah, I think it is okay. More or less used it, but not much. Okay, so we have pretty much people. Okay. Oh, okay. So there are people, yeah, I think we have a split audience in between people who used it and people who did not. So I'm of course going to give you a brief overview on the platform, but of course you are welcome if you have any questions to write to us or to look for more on the platform itself. I think that one of the most important things when we are using a new platform is to play with it a little bit, because at the beginning we don't know anything about it, we don't know what button is for what, etc. So I think playing with it in the first I think a week it's useful, and then we are really able to use it fully to the potential of the platform. So Slack is a tool that is used for internal communication or communication I can add in between teams. It is a web application that it I think it's almost comparable but a little bit more refined for the workplace or classes. I can also or teams at school for communication in between the teams. So it's more refined and less like instant messaging, even if it has very similar aspects to it. It creates permanent chat rooms, so that reduce the amount of emails and phone calls available. Of course, you can find Slack typing on Google slack.com and you will be directed um, to the software. And of course, you will have to create an account to access. As far as I know, from what I've seen, it's free to create one. And from that, you can access your space and create your own teams. That teams, so with the name of the project, and you can send invitation to the members of the team you want to be part, you need to be part of. So of course you can see a toolbar with dedicated spaces for projects or teams, and you can send and receive messages. You can send a message on the team, but you can also send a private message to a specific person that you need to discuss maybe something privately about, or some colleague that you are working on a specific task and you don't want to bother, let's say, the whole team with unnecessary messages that are not useful for everybody. So of course you can invite people from your profile and they will receive an email. If they do not have the account already, they will have to create one. If they have, they will have to join through mail. Then we can go on. So Slack works more with the word channels, which are these chat rooms that in which people can communicate. It's like, for example, a WhatsApp group, almost as a WhatsApp group. Oh, thank you, Majid, for letting me know. Thank you. So you can communicate through this channel with your team. You can mention them using the at, as we do on WhatsApp and on social media, so it's very straightforward to use. And you can create different types of channels. So I want to propose to you a brief Menti about it. Uh, for the ones who are already familiar with Slack, it will be easier, I think. But also for the ones who do not know the platform, maybe it can give you, there are some icons that maybe are used in the same way in other platform that you use. So you can scan the QR code, or in a minute you will see the link pop up in the chat. Here it is. So I would like to know, on Slack, you can create private teams. Which icon do you think represents this kind of team? Sorry. You can select in between option 1, 2, and 3. The main suggestions are the way the icon is conceived. So with the eye, with the little lock, or this kind of all around communication, maybe. So we have the first answer. Okay, one is above all the other options. I think this is pretty straightforward because it's a symbol that it's used also, it's very common on other platforms. Okay, we will leave the last 5 seconds only to give the chance to everybody. Okay, yes, so the option is the number 3, of course, is to create private channels. It's called on Slack, private teams. So on these teams, they are not open, and you have to send invitation to the specific members you want to be part of the team. So it's not open to everybody. This is, I think, something that you can use also on Trello. In a way, you can create open boards, but also private ones with specific members of the team. So it's pretty straightforward. I think the majority of the platforms today are very intuitive to use. They are not extremely complicated, so it's really easier for everybody. So I think one of the most important things for Slack is that the messages are saved and searchable, in the sense that all the chat and all the messages you send are saved there for future reference if you need it. So if you send links or specific questions that you don't remember the answer to, you can reread all the chat. And you can create, of course, different kind of channel. So the conversation is saved. On Slack, you can also share files. The easiest way to do it is drop the file directly from your folder or from a cloud storage that you use directly into the window in which you are using Slack, and it will automatically say, do you want to share this with your team or with this person? And you just click on send and you send everything. So it's very intuitive to use. You can also connect on video calls, which is also useful, so that you use only one platform to communicate for a project and maybe avoid the use of other video calls and other apps for meetings. And you can also, the same as, for example, WhatsApp or Telegram, you can record audios or directly record the short videos and send this to the team or the person. Then, of course, you can. There are some tips if if you use it. Maybe you are experiencing it. You can type channel to send a message to the whole channel. Type mention a specific person and notify the people that are online so that they can receive the message and do a faster work, let's say, or solve a problem. And then, of course, you will visualize all the notification that you can see that you are being part of. So you see the number of the notification, and also direct messages in cases you had. And if, as you can see, maybe this is not something straightforward to notice, but you can see, for example, the channel announcements or team design in bold. This means that this chat have unread messages from you. So there are information that you still have not read. And then, last but not least, this is a reminder of what you can do. You can invite people if you are the administrator. You can mention people and react to their messages also directly with emojis. So this can be also fun. And in case you have any problems or issues with the platform itself, you can also chat through a little built-in robot that will give you straightforward information. Now, of course, this was a brief overview. Some of you have already experienced it. Others that that are not familiar with the platform can really maybe try it out to see and what all the possibilities are and everything you can use. But I think this is a very good option if you are considering a software or an app that you can use to specifically for communication. Okay, so this was to conclude our topic today, and now we will share with you one last Menti. This is related in general to the series of workshop we had during these months. And we would like to know from you what other topics are important for you on smart working. What other topics would you like to know about, etc. So you can express and type a sentence or a single word, so we can take it into consideration for future projects and workshops. We would very much appreciate if you shared some topic, or maybe if you had some doubts or you would like to see further the topics we have seen previously, you can do that. Okay, HubSpot. This is a good suggestion. The others are typing. If you cannot access in a way, you can also write down on the chat if it's easier for you. It's very important for us to hear from you, because in this way we can tailor our workshop and add topics or go more in detail on other topics we had already had the occasion to discuss, etc. So it's very important. So HubSpot, I think this is the main one. Maybe some others. Okay, here it comes. Project management tools and how to use them effectively in a team. Any app that is simple and easy to use. How to organize work productively. These are good suggestions. For the project management tools, we have shared Trello, which has been mentioned different times today. It's a tool that it's very easy to use and a lot of people use for managing their project and their work. If you missed that workshop on Trello, you will be able to find it on our website, and you will be able also to see the recording if maybe you want to do a recap through video. So we have secret tips. Okay, this is the one who wrote secret tips, is it about a specific topic, or you would like to know about all the tips of smart working that maybe are not very people are not very familiar with? If you can write it down on the chat, how to activate the students in online meetings. Absolutely. This is something we will further develop in next workshop and next projects that, of course, we will share with you. So, and now, as last thing, I kindly ask you, it will pop up in a second on the chat and on the screen, if you can complete a short evaluation of the meeting to let us know your impressions on today's meeting. What are your ideas, your considerations on it? Majid has already sent us a kind message. So Morad, yes, also project website can be also a topic we can add, absolutely. So yes, you can scan or click on the link in the chat to the Google form. Please let me know in the chat when you have completed, so I know more or less who has done it. Okay. Okay, so we have the first done, perfect. I'm going to leave you still a few minutes so you can do it with no problems. Okay, done, perfect, thank you. Okay. All right, so, okay, another done. All right, so they are incoming, I think. Of course, for the ones who have already participated, you know about that you receive a certificate for your participation. We will, of course, send to your mail, to the mail you have provided to us, your certificate, so you can use it on your workplace, or if you are from schools or training center, you can use them. Okay, so I think let me know if somebody still needs the QR code. Okay, think many of you have already completed it. Okay, so now as last thing, I share with you our social media pages of our project and the website of our project. On it, you will be able to find all the information regarding this Erasmus project, about the meetings, the exchanges that have been done, and of course, you will find with time also the material of these workshops. So you will be able to find the recording, you will be able to find photos, and of course, if you need or if you would like more information on a specific topic, you can write to us on the website. You can find all the contact information. We will be very we are welcome every kind of question about the topic, and so you are open to do it. So we conclude this last workshop of the Smart Working series. Thank you very much, everybody, for participating and taking part in this series. We really, really appreciated all your input, and all your questions, ideas are very valuable for us. And we hope you enjoyed this series. And thank you very much, everybody. So we will see each other in other occasions, I'm sure. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening and the rest of the week. Okay? Thank you. Bye. Thank you very much. See you soon. Bye.